A second. So we are live here on the Woman Agenda Podcast YouTube channel. We have a very special guest, very, very super talented. Like I said on social media, Lydia Canaan. Have I said that right? Sometimes I get the pronunciation a little bit wrong.
Well, I mean, it's Canaan. It's Canaan.
Canaan.
In Lebanese, you would say Lydia Canaan, but in English,
Lydia Canaan.
it's Canaan, like the land
Yeah.
of Canaan.
Yeah, when I searched for you, I found so much information. There's like like a encyclopedia and about your information, your background, which is very interesting, and I'm sure it was very very hard as well. So if we can just mention first of all, obviously you're a Lebanese singer, rock singer,
Mhm.
and how hard was it in your upbringing to think about music? Because I know, and obviously what is mentioned, it was very hard and difficult. So how
It was.
difficult was it to think about music at that time?
It was very difficult because I was born and raised and grew up in Lebanon, which is a very patriarchal society, and it was very hard for me as a girl to let my voice be heard. So, especially coming also from a very conservative family, my father was against me going on stage and singing. He'd rather that I would end up being, I don't know, a teacher or a doctor, but not going on stage. So, I did not have any support family wise. So, it was very hard. And but I've always believed in myself, and I've always believed in the gift that I have. And I always said, it's like whenever I clashed with my father because I wanted to go on stage, and he would tell me, just shut up and go to your room. I'd say to him, I'll go to my room, but I will never shut up because I have a voice. So I was a rebel ever since I was young. And I remember that for my very first gig, I had to sneak out of the house and lie to my father where I was going and tell him that we were preparing for, a concert at school. I was a pre-teenager when I went on stage the very first time, and so I told him that there's a concert happening at, in the school, and I have to go there. And so I had to go out wearing just, a long white dress in front of him, and I threw my leather gear and rock outfit that I needed to wear on stage. I threw it out of the window to the backyard of my bedroom, and then I had to go back and get it, go to the backyard, get my clothes and change in the car. It
Wow.
was like, yeah, it was lots of suspense, and then go down to Beirut where the whole concert was taking place in a very big theater that would fit for around 800 people, and then going down to with a car to get to the stage. I will never forget that. It is Raj, it is very much engraved in my in my mind. There was a huge traffic on the way to the theater, and and the road was like, jammed with cars, and I said, oh my god, I won't make it. I don't know why this traffic. So I opened the door, parked the car on the road, and then just walked towards the stage, towards that sorry, not the stage, the theater. And then it dawned to me that all the traffic on the highway was all the people coming to attend my concert. And that was my very first concert. And we promoted it only on an FM radio station at that time. and just some posters here and there on the street. It was in the midst of war, you know. You can imagine it was really phenomenal. And I went through the people, you know, I had to just, you know, hide myself and go among the people and get to backstage and prepare myself and go on stage. We did not print enough ticket at that time because unlike the West, you know, I mean, in Lebanon, and especially during the war, people would live like not even day by day, like hour by hour. So we did not print enough tickets. So we did not think a lot of people would show up. And then when we saw this crowd, it was amazing and really phenomenal. We ran out of tickets, so they were stamping on the hands of people to let them enter. Then we ended up having over 1,500 people. People even were standing outside the theater just to hear me sing. And that was really phenomenal because my first appearance on stage was my first phenomenal success, you know. And from that day on, you know, I was titled or given the title by the media all over the Middle East, the pan-Arab media, as well as in my beloved country, the first female rock star of the Middle East, because there wasn't any, you know, to my knowledge. I didn't even know that back then, that I was pioneering in something. I just, you know, was following my heart, and I wanted to sing and let out my anger and frustration through music, you know. And a lot of my fans felt that connection, you know, that we can let out our anger and frustration and our rejection of violence through music.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful synchronization, you know, music and the feeling between me and the fans, the reaction. It was, I'll never forget that. It is engraved in my memory forever. It was
Yeah,
very difficult,
absolutely.
and from that
Mm.
time onward, I continued making concerts, and even in the midst of war. And I remember sometimes I was performing at theaters where there were like army uh, cannons and it was like a headquarters of an army or of a militia, you know, just, you know, sending bombs here and there. And I don't know, I mean, it's like it's crazy thinking about it today, you know, but we were
Mm.
like kind of fearless, if I could say that word, fearless, you know, because we just wanted to enjoy life, you know, because we were like deprived of everything. You know, it's like war is, how can I describe it? I mean, it's like only if you have lived through war, you can understand how war deprives people of everything, you know. It's like it steals everything of you, you know. And at the same time, it really pushes people to either, you know, expose their utmost humanity or expose their utmost evil, you know.
Yeah.
So and I'm very happy that I was able to project so much positivity through my music, and because I call myself an artist with a purpose, and I always wanted to send a message of hope, of peace, of positivity, of love, of coexistence, not just to my people, but to everybody worldwide, because music is borderless, you
It is.
know, and it is universal, you know. You just, even if there is the barrier of the language, it's like once music is there, it breaks that barrier, and you just have to feel it so sincerely in your heart, you know.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm sure a lot of people will be inspired by your story, which is nothing made up. It's a whole real story. What happened to yourself? Uh, yeah, definitely, it was. Um, I would say war is probably the worst thing which can happen to any country. We've seen it what's happening to Ukraine, which is terrible.
Yeah,
And obviously we feel,
absolutely.
and we definitely feel for the people down there.
Of course,
Uh,
of course.
yeah, and in Lebanon, and this war which happened, this how long did this war last for? Was it like a long time?
15, 15
Yes.
years. Yes.
Oh my God,
15 years. Yeah, yeah. It was a
long time.
bloody, yeah, yeah,
So
very long time. It was what they call a civil war, but I always called it an imported civil war on Lebanon, because Lebanon has over 18 religion, and we have always coexisted together. And so sadly, it was imposed on us, on the population, and then it ended up into a civil war. That's why I called it, I still call it an imported war on Lebanon. It was from 1975 until 1990,
right.
and it was a bloody war. So many lives perished, and so many people just disappeared, and so many people were imprisoned, and until today we don't know the so many families are still, until today, can you imagine, Raj, until today they demonstrate, in Beirut, to try to asking the government and asking all governments worldwide to be in solidarity with the families and try to find those that have been missing during the war, those that have been taken to other countries and imprisoned. So the scars of war, they never fade away, never. You learn
Mm,
to adapt and adopt, you know, because you have a survival instinct within you, and you have to continue. Otherwise, it's hell. So one learned to adopt to the conditions, which is very hard because I was, you know, a pre-teenager, and even I can tell you that I mean, my parents' home where we lived, it's like it was turned into a makeshift hospital to get the injured into the house,
yeah,
because the house of my parents is on a ground floor, and it is partially protected. I mean, protected. I mean, so one could hope, that it could be protected because we also received few bombs in the house, and but part of it was protected, and the part that was protected was turned into a makeshift hospital to receive the injured, the lightly injured. So as a young girl, you can imagine seeing all these people, blood and injury, and the shrapnels on the faces and on the hands. And this is not a sight for, for children, for pre-teenagers, for teenagers, for any person, actually, even for adults. This is not the normal way of life, of growing up and seeing all of this trauma and all of these atrocities. So
mm,
one learned to, it's like I had to learn to grow very fast. It's like to assume responsibility, to realize that, it's like you are so young, but then you realize that you could be killed at just like that at any moment.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's very, very hard. And like I said, the scars of war never fade. They're
Mm,
still embedded
yeah,
in, subconsciously, and it's there, but it's like one has to push it back, somewhere. It is there. I know it's there, but
yeah,
try to make something positive out of it. And the feedback from the fans gave me a lot of push, because a lot of fans would come backstage and want to talk to me. And so many told me that and thanked me for saving their lives And I could not understand that at that time. And I said, saving your life? I mean, what do you mean thanking me for saving your life? This is too much, you know. They said, because we had a choice either to carry a Kalashnikov or to carry a guitar. And when
Yeah.
we saw you singing, you know, from your heart and talking that the violence, all of this anger and frustration and this oppression and suppression of us because of the war, we can let it out through music. So we looked up to you and we found, no, we're going to follow what Lydia said, you know, and I would rather carry a guitar rather than a Kalashnikov. So my fans, the feedback, it was so overwhelming to me. And I would hug them and they would cry and I would cry as well, that I was able to, you know, to do something, although, I mean, for them it was something gigantic, you know, because it's their lives at stake. And even the parents would come and hug me and say, thank you so much for saving our children, because we have heard during the war that so many brothers were against each other because a brother would enlist in a militia and another brother would enlist in another different militia, and they would clash, and sadly they ended up killing each other. And so many bad and so many sad stories about the war. And this is why I understood the parents when they came and hugged me too and said, you saved our children, you know, because
Mhm.
they are carrying a guitar today rather than a Kalashnikov. And this is so
Yeah.
inspiring, and so I'm so grateful. I am filled with gratefulness, you know, that I was able to transform people's lives, you know, through my music.
Definitely.
It's really something so touching.
So how did he get into of all the music genres? How was it rock music? Was it any particular? Because obviously you are the first Lebanese rock singer, and obviously it was mentioned that on the encyclopedia you being the first one from Lebanese. So, who was there? Anyone you did you watch any music at that time when you were growing up? Any rock music? Anyone?
Funny enough, that's a good question. Funny enough, I never listened to rock as I was
No.
growing. While I was growing up, I listened to songs like you know, I mean, being Lebanese, we are trilingual. You know, it's like we
Yeah.
speak Lebanese,
Okay.
which is our national language. You know, and
Right.
we speak also French because it's also an official language in Lebanon, because Lebanon is a francophone country. It was under the French mandate.
Yeah.
So, and then we introduced English. So most Lebanese are either bilingual or trilingual. You know, so I grew up listening to Lebanese songs. Our diva that I adore, her name is Fayrouz. You know, I grew up listening to her songs. I grew up listening to French songs. Also, I grew up listening to English songs. I used to listen to Olivia Newton-John, you know, like pop songs, Elton
Yeah.
John. I was listening to French songs of Charles Aznavour, you know, that I adore so much, and Mireille Mathieu, you know, and like pop. I was listening to pop music, be it English or French, as well as, you know, our traditional Lebanese music. And
Right.
what happened that I went into rock, it was because a friend of mine told me, well, there's a band, you know, consisting of four guys that
Yeah.
are searching for someone to sing in rock music, but they are very adamant. They want a boy to sing rock. And I said, but if they want a boy to sing rock, you know, why me? Why me as a girl? And he said
Yeah.
to me, why not? Because you have a very big voice I mean, as a woman, as a girl singer, you have a very big voice. Why don't you go and, just go and audition? And I said, okay. So I went to this band and they looked at each other, nah, hey girl, So,
Yeah.
and then I remember the first song that I auditioned, I rehearsed like a few days before, and it was the song Separate Ways by the American band Journey, So I
Okay.
went and I sang that song, and then they looked at each other and they said, that's it. Because every man that auditioned for that band did not have the power in their vocals or did not have whatever the band was requiring, So then they said, drop it. We're not adamant anymore. After hearing Lydia, we're not adamant anymore on having a man, so we're going to have Lydia. You are the voice of the band. And then I became the leading vocalist of the band. It was called Equation, the band. And at that time, it's like I took the nickname Angel. So a lot of my old fans would call me Angel because they always told me you have an angelic face. Your phone is ringing. Yeah. So they always told me
Always
you
rings
have
at the wrong time.
they used to tell me you have an angelic face. So I took the name Angel as a teenager and went on stage with the name Angel. And a lot of my
Wow.
old fans until today still call me Angel. So
Yeah.
we rehearsed for about like 9 months, 8 to 9 months, if my memory serves me right. And then we made the first concert that I was, just a while ago telling you about, how I went and I was to the theater and it was packed with people and seeing, the stamp on, on their hand because they needed to enter and hear me sing. And it was really phenomenal, and people still talk about it until today because it's
Yeah.
funny because until today there are not so many, even in the Western world, there are not so many female rock stars. I
There's
don't know
not many.
why. And
There,
even in
there,
Lebanon,
there isn't.
hardly. I don't know
There isn't.
why rock.
Lebanon, there's not many. I don't think there's many. I think even when I searched Lebanese rock, I think I may come across maybe one, maybe I might be wrong. I think her name is Nancy Ajram. I think her name is. I think that's the only one who has a Lebanese background and she's started in rock a few years back. But I think apart from her, I don't think there's many. Even in Asian, to be honest, there's not many who are in rock. So I think it's
Female.
female. There isn't many.
Why is that? That's so
I don't know.
strange,
There's not many.
and I thought when I went on stage I mean, you're telling me my transition into rock, being, listening and growing up hearing pop music and then going into rock. It's like after I auditioned, I felt it so deep in my heart, and I just embraced rock, and I felt that I have been a rocker all my life, and it was dormant in me, and somehow that was the trigger when I performed that song of the group Journey, Separate Ways. And since then, rock is in my blood.
Yeah.
And
I, I,
I love rock
wow.
music, and I didn't even know that I was the only female, going on stage and singing rock. There were many bands during the war, doing gigs here and there, but all of them were, male bands. So that was something that I am still very humbled and very proud. But I would have hoped that I would open, a door, and by pioneering as a female, rock singer in Lebanon and in the Middle East, that then a lot of bands and a lot of female girls would go on stage and sing, but
Yeah.
rock, no, I don't
It's
know
not.
why.
It's not happened. Yeah, but yeah, but it may happen. Hopefully, hopefully it will happen. We've noticed. Obviously, you've your music videos. They played everywhere. MTV Europe, MTV Russia, and
MTV Arabia as well. Yeah,
Arabia.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think you've had
MTV
interviews.
Asia, Asia as well. Yeah.
Your interviews have appeared on NBC. Um, so it's been a massive global presence which you've had, and so you've been recognized all across the globe with all these, big
Exposure, the exposure I
exposure.
had. Yeah, yeah.
The exposure has been big. So and I think you've been acclaimed. You won recognition as a singer, as a songwriter. So you're a song. Do you so you write these songs yourself? Are these
Yes,
all?
yes. I'm a songwriter as well. I'm a
Yeah.
poet and a songwriter. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was singing. I started writing poetry at a very young age. I was 11 years old when I was writing in English. You know, I've always loved the English language, and I still do. I mean, I'm very passionate about the English language, and I felt, even as an 11-year-old girl, that I could express myself much better in English, and it's been accompanying me all my life, you know, to write in English. So I started writing poetry at first in English, and then a friend of mine died, and that really hit me so hard. And then I wrote a piece of poetry called "Why All the Hurt," and it was my very first song. So I composed the melody in my head. I do not play any instrument. I do not read notes. It's just what I call a God-given gift. The universe gave me this gift that I'm able to write the lyrics and compose the melody in my head. And my very first song was called "Why All the Hurt," which was inspired by a friend of mine. We were, you know, the same age as teenagers, and she died during the war. So, and it was my very first hit in Lebanon as well. And all the radios were playing it. And the song was my first experience writing a song. And from then on, I continued, you know, writing songs. But of course, on stage with the band, we were singing also many cover versions. We sang songs of Iron Maiden. We sang songs of Scorpions, of Michael Schenker. We sang songs of Ozzy Osbourne, of Rainbow, of Deep Purple, of David Coverdale. Yeah,
Wow.
yes, yes. Because I mean, I have a very, I'm a mezzo soprano, you know. So, and I have this capacity with my voice as a mezzo soprano to go high and also to go low, you know. So I was able to sing all of these songs, you know, which are basically male vocalists singing, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and I think I've seen where somewhere it's been mentioned. You recorded a duet with was it
Roger Taylor, the drummer of
Roddy
the
Taylor?
band
Yeah,
Queen.
Rod
Yeah,
Taylor Queen.
yeah.
Which
I
which
mean,
is a big thing. Which is a very very big thing. That is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's a song called "Love and Lust." What happened after, you know, my success in Lebanon? I moved to Switzerland, and I was trying to contact people there, you know, to launch myself, you know, to continue my career, but you know, on an international scale. So I got all the videos and all the music that I did and in Lebanon, and I thought, you know, that would open up a door for me, you know. And I realized, no, you know, nobody cared that I was a big star in my home country. They said, you know, well, you're a big star in Lebanon, but you're nobody here. But that didn't, you know, kind of didn't, you know, made me be sad or something. I said, I'm a person that thrives, in adversity. I've always said that. Some people
Yeah.
give up, and say, oh my God, all after all this success, I have to start from zero. For me, I said, oh, I'm ready for it. It's like, okay, here we go. So I started contacting people here and there. And at that time, I remember Sony Music in Switzerland was kind of contemplating on signing me as a heavy metal singer. And I did not want to go into heavy metal. I wanted to continue being a rock singer, but not heavy metal. So I declined, and it did not, continue that, the talks with them. But then I met a Swiss producer, and his name is David Richards, and he is the producer of the band Queen, and he is the producer of the Montreux Jazz Festival. And he also produces Chris Rea, David Bowie, Shaka Khan, you name it, the creme de la creme, you know. And he wanted to produce me. And at that time, I didn't even know how big he was, the
Yes.
connection.
Yeah.
I
My
mean,
word. I mean,
yeah,
the kind of acts you mentioned, they are like Queen. Who everybody knows about
Freddie
Queen.
Mercury. Yeah,
Freddie
yeah, yeah,
Mercury. Freddie Mercury, let's
absolutely.
say David Bowie. Absolutely, they're all legends in the. Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
shocking.
absolutely.
Yes.
So it's like at that time, I remember it was through a Swiss producer, and the Swiss producer told me, he called me at home. I was in Switzerland, in Zurich, and he told me, Lydia, are you standing or sitting? And I said, and why? He said, I need you to sit down. And I said, why? He said, because I have something to tell you. And I said, what is it? And he said, um, David Richards wants to produce you, and he wants to meet you. And I said, okay. And he said, I said David Richards. And I said, yeah, but who's David Richards? I didn't even know he said, David Richards is the producer of the band Queen, of Freddie Mercury, of Montreux Jazz Festival, of David Bowie, of Chris Rea. And I said, okay, but I'm not a big fan of Queen, so it's okay. And then it's like, it's funny, Then I
Mm,
met I met David Richards, and at that time I was signed by Jim Beach, the manager of the band Queen. I was
yeah.
signed to his production company, to his management company called Spinny Music. So he was my manager at that time.
Wow.
And then they opened the studios, the famous studios of Mountain Studios. They're called Mountain Studios. This is where Deep Purple recorded their song called Smoke on the Water, because a fire broke out in that studio. There's a
Right.
casino next to it. And
Yeah.
then they come up with this lyric, Smoke on the Water, and this is where they recorded. And in Mountain Studios. And then I had Mountain Studios opening its doors for me. And to tell you that Mountain Studios is owned by the band Queen. So
Wow.
I was recording for several years with the producer of the band Queen, David Richards, my own songs. Because at first Jim Beach, the manager of Queen, he thought, maybe we could get you some songs, written by some famous songwriters. And then in the studio, David Richards was telling me, Lydia, but wait a minute, I heard you sing some songs that that you wrote yourself. And I said, yes, but they're just demos, And he said, no, no, no,
Mm,
no, let me hear them, let me hear them. And he kind of gave me even a strong push uh, to say, don't be shy, to sing your songs and stick to your songs. You're a very good songwriter. And he said, I love the way and the fact that you are able, without the help of any instrument, I don't play any instrument, to compose a melody in my head. He called me a prodigy at that time, and I said, "Oh no, no." He said, "For you, it's normal because, I mean, I was not supported by my family, especially my dad did not want me to be a singer. So I was not, able to go and to a conservatory, music conservatory, and learn music, nor take, some music lessons. So I was literally deprived of being being able to express myself through music, as a child and as a young girl. So by being deprived, I ended up creating this thing in me that I was able to compose music and melody over the lyrics and the poetry that I wrote without the need of an instrument and storing it in my head. I didn't even have a tape recorder to record it, you know. So, and I later learned that I have an what you call an eidetic memory. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I think it's called eidetic memory, something like that, that
Yeah.
am capable to compose music, compose songs, music and lyrics without recording them to remember them. And I store them all in my head. And until
Wow.
today, this is what I do. I compose and record in my head, and then I keep the melody in my head, and then I sit together with my arranger on the piano, and he puts the chords, and I tell him, oh no, no, let me sing it again, and I think it should be that way. And this is how, you know I do my I compose the songs. We put like the chords of it, but it's all stored in my head. And I did that in Montreux studios with David Richards, and he went crazy. And it's like he was making me aware that what I'm doing is not normal. It's not the normal way. It's not the classical way. It's something phenomenal. That's why he called me a prodigy. And he said, it's like the whole world should know about it. It's like, because if you are
Definitely.
sitting on a piano and you hit a note, you hit the key, even that key could inspire you with that note to come up with some kind of a melody. But it's like he says, you have no instrument. You are totally deprived of any musical sound, yet you are able and capable to create it in your head, which is very difficult.
Hmm.
But, and this is why I believe that when, not just me, when people are, any individual is deprived of something so, I could call it vital, because for me, music is so vital. When you are so much deprived of something that you love and you yearn and you crave for, it's like you find ways to create something out of nothing. And this is how I was able to create the melodies, to create the music, and to go about and record my own songs. And David Richards told me, forget about what Jim Beach brought into the studios. All of these songs, that EMI were sending and Parlophone were sending to us, and the publishing side of these companies, they were sending us songs that I could listen to, and maybe I could put my vocals. And he said, forget it. You're a great songwriter, and go ahead and continue and hold on to your songwriting. And
Yeah.
I recorded many songs in mountain studios, and then they were being played on the radio. And I made interviews at that time, but my focus was always to London. Because, I mean, although Switzerland is known to be the most, I read once that in Switzerland, the people in Switzerland are the most people that buy music, compared to other European countries.
Yeah.
So, but I went there to Switzerland because I had part of my family living there. So that was for me at least to start somewhere in Europe. But I was amazed that even Queen had an own studios their own studios in Switzerland, and so many artists were there, and I met so many artists at that time. And then Roger Taylor, the drummer of Queen, I mean, it's
Yeah.
his studio. I am recording in his studio. Went in and he said, "Oh wow, what that voice! What that powerful voice!" And then David Richards said, "How about doing a duet together?" And I said, "Oh my God, that would be great." And then we
Yeah.
recorded together a song called "Love and Lust" that Roger Taylor, the drummer, composed, and it's his song. So it was a great honor to do that. And from then on, I was contacting people in London, and then I got a phone call from Robin Scott, who is a very famous singer and producer in England, and he had a big hit in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, called Pop Music. Pop, pop, pop
Right.
music, shooby dooby doo up, pop, pop, shoo up, that famous song.
I think
Uh, yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
I've heard of
yeah.
it.
I,
Yeah.
I remember that, and we did also some songs together, and we went on TV, Channel 4, and they interviewed me as well. And after that, I met Barry Blue, who was a big glam star in the 70s in the UK, and then went on to become just a producer. And he produced so many famous bands. And he, with the Rapino Brothers, they were the producers of Take That, and of so many stars. I can't remember the names now. So, and he said to me, when I heard your voice, I have a song that I have hidden in the drawer somewhere. And it is a very special song to him because he wrote it for a friend of him that died. So, and he said, this is a very personal song to me, but when I heard your voice, it awakened that thing in me that I want to put out that song, and that voice of yours. I would be honored if you would sing my song. And then even if I'm a song, even being a songwriter, I am not, what, how to say it. I am not only just because I'm a songwriter. I don't just sing my own songs. I know maybe some artists would only focus on their songs. For me,
Yeah.
having an artist like Barry Blue, giving me a song of his, because I'm a songwriter myself, and I know how much a song means to the composer, to the creator, to. So it was such an honor that he wanted me to sing his song "Beautiful Life," and it was a beautiful song, and the title is beautiful, the emotion, the feeling. I just sang it once in the studio, just like that, it just came out like just from my heart. And he said, "That's it, that's it." And I said, "Aren't we gonna have to sing again?" And he said, "No, no, 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 just your first take was all the emotions were there." And then it was my first international breakthrough from London,
Wow.
the song "Beautiful Life." And later I heard that, it was being played all over Europe. And I went on a radio promotional tour in England, promoting the song and going on radio, promoting it. And I went all the way up to Scarborough, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was on the radio there, and they said, "Oh, thank you so much for coming all the way. You're the second artist that would come to visit us." And I said, "And who's the first?" They said, "Elton John." And I said,
Wow.
"Oh wow, Elton John. I mean, what a great artist himself. To care enough to go, the extra mile and go to such places, to Scarborough." And even I heard later that the song was being played so much in South Africa. So what happened, I was in London, in my apartment in London, and I was watching, I think it was the BBC or a channel of the BBC. And then I saw Nelson Mandela, doing his, when he dances, he does his famous move like that. And my song in the background. I said, but that's my song. What's happening? And then I called the label and they told me, yes, your song was in the charts. It was being played on the radio and it was in the charts in South Africa. And Nelson Mandela, I was told by the label in London that Nelson Mandela chose my song as a theme for a charity sponsored by him. And it was such an honor. And ever since then, it's like my song, my name is always associated to Nelson Mandela. So wherever I go, they always say, Lydia, why don't you sing to us the song of Nelson Mandela? It became his song, no longer mine. But it's such an honor to sing, the song that Nelson Mandela chose, which is called Beautiful
Absolutely.
Life.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, the guy's a inspiration in himself, and
He's a
definitely,
legend, a
he's a legend,
legend.
a legend.
He's a legend, and to
Definitely
have
no
my
words.
name and
Yeah,
his name
yes,
associated together, people until
absolutely.
today. I mean, the song is just was released in the 90s, but until today, it's like it's an evergreen, and people still remember Nelson Mandela. It's like Lydia and Nelson Mandela. So this is
Absolutely.
something that, yeah, I'm so grateful
Yeah,
for.
I think regarding the other stuff you've done, we'll have to bring you on for that the kind of stuff you've done with the UN. But it's hard to bring it all in this chat, to be honest, because it would probably be going a bit
Hours
too
and
long.
hours. How long is
Exactly.
your show?
So
How long is your show, Raj?
we yeah, exactly. So we probably will have to bring you for a special on that, to be honest, to talk about the kind of stuff you've done with the UN
My activism as a
activism.
United Nations
Yes,
delegate. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Because I'm a
We'll
passionate
we'll have to.
humanitarian. I mean, I could just very quickly say that I'm a passionate humanitarian, and I've always, sang for fundraising and for causes. It's always humanitarian causes as well. And this is something very, very close to my heart. I'm very passionate about it. And because of my humanitarianism, and I've made a lot of gigs where I donated all the proceeds, to charity and to human rights causes. I was asked by the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva to deliver speeches supporting human rights, and I did that, and people can see it on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about YouTube channel, so we do need to mention the YouTube channel as well. So we'll mention it on here. So this is the official YouTube channel for anyone who's watching this now or watching it after, afterwards on the clips. So this is the YouTube channel. Do check it out. Obviously, I've checked it out and subscribed. So check it out on there and do check it out, and I'm sure you will like it, and you will subscribe to her YouTube channel,
And they
which
can they can they can also follow me on my Instagram account as
yeah,
well.
exactly. You can
Yeah,
you can
on
follow
my
Instagram,
Instagram, on Twitter, yeah,
on
yeah,
Twitter,
on
which is
Facebook.
here. This is a Twitter. This is a Twitter handler. You can follow her on there, on a Twitter handler, and you can get in touch with her. And this is her Facebook one as well. And on there, and if you search Instagram,
Instagram, yeah.
she'll be on Instagram. She's on there as well on Instagram. So do check her out, and if you have any questions, you can get in touch with her on there on the social media platforms. Definitely, is there anything which you have released recently, or is anything in the works at the moment?
I at the moment I am unsigned,
Okay.
so I am unsigned at the moment, and but I would love because to put out new material. I haven't put out new material since quite some time, but I'm always writing new songs. I have loads and loads of songs. So I would hope to be signed and put out and put,
Yeah,
new
that's
music
hard.
out.
That's hard for me to believe that you're on sign after working for so many people. It's very hard to understand why you guys thinking. Come on, guys, get in touch with Lydia. Absolutely. I don't think it's hard to work with one genius, but you worked with so many genius people and so many big people. To be unsigned, absolutely, that's crazy. So yeah, definitely get in touch with her. Do get in touch with her, definitely, and we want to see obviously some more music from you.
New material. Yeah,
New
yeah.
material, absolutely, definitely, absolutely. So you're based in the UK now?
No, I am based in Lebanon now, in
Oh,
my
Lebanon.
home country.
Oh, you're back to Lebanon. When was that?
Yes.
When did you go back to?
I did leave Lebanon, but I've always said that Lebanon, I carry Lebanon wherever I go, So I've always, you know, traveled to Lebanon and then went back to Europe, and then I lived for a short while in the States as well, But I mean, Lebanon is always in my heart, and I came back to Lebanon because this is my home country. And, with today's technology, you don't have to be literally there in the UK, to,
That's
to,
true.
to go and record and do your songs. So technology is so advanced and is helping artists a lot, So I'm back home, but I mean, as I said, I'm open to be signed and to have a production company, supporting me, and that I'm able to record all of these songs that I continue writing almost daily,
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure you will. I mean, the kind of stuff you've done, the kind of awards you have won. You would definitely is someone which I can't imagine where you will be releasing something very soon. I'm sure you will be.
Hopefully, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, hopefully.
definitely,
I would
definitely.
like to say, something, Raj, to your fans. It's like, because this is something that my fans in the States made me aware of, that I have been listed and cataloged in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museums Library and Archives in Cleveland, Ohio. And I did not know that I am the first and only artist from Lebanon and from the Middle East to be listed in the Hall of Fame, along with the names of Elvis Presley, the
Yeah,
Beatles, uh, Michael Jackson,
yeah.
Bruce Springsteen, all these big famous rock stars. So this is something that I want. I'm very happy and proud of. It's like my fans always follow everything about me, and they provide me with all the information. So I'm happy to convey it to your audience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't understand where the time. I've said this only a couple of times, but it's seriously the time has totally flown by, and definitely this has been probably a longer chat, but we had to speak
Really,
about
how long have we been online?
about 53 minutes.
Really? Oh my God,
Yeah,
time flies.
yeah, time flies. Definitely, and definitely,
Thank you
and
so much for
uh,
having me, Raj.
definitely, we will try to bring you on to talk about the kind of work you've done, whether it's the regarding the UN and everything else.
The humanitarian side. Yeah. Okay.
Definitely need
Yeah.
to speak about that. But obviously, it's going to be very difficult to speak about it because obviously we want to talk about your music and that kind of stuff. But I'm sure you are going to release something very very soon. So do check.
Hopefully, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. On there, and yeah, and this is a YouTube channel. Do check it out and do subscribe and do follow on there. So yeah, absolutely. So you're keeping yourself busy in back home now with the family.
Yes, yeah. Keeping myself busy with humanitarian work. I do a lot
Good.
of humanitarian work, and I still travel to Geneva, where the Human Rights Council, United Nations Human Rights Council, they do
Wow.
their conferences like several times per year. Like there are four major
Yeah,
conferences,
Oh,
and I
yeah,
fly there often, as a United Nations delegate, and I talk
that's
about,
fantastic.
the humanitarian causes from refugees to political prisoners, and this is something very dear to my heart.
Absolutely. And if we hear of any recording labels, we are definitely going to mention your name to them
Thank you.
uh, as well. Thank you very much for coming on, and it's been a
Thank you
pleasure
for
to.
having me.
Thank you very much. I'm wishing you lots of success going forward again,
Thank
because
you.
I'm sure you will do. You definitely a role model, not just for women, but across both genders. The kind of stuff you come through, takes a lot of courage, being mentally strong. And not many people could say they've gone into music after coming through all that. Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.